Yeah, Hop. My, my research title is Census of Kitty Hog-Nosed Bat in a Limestone Cave at Sayok District, Kanchanaburi, Thailand, through direct observation. Kitty Hog-Nosed Bat is the smallest mammal in the world. Its wingspan is only 15 centimeters long. The IUCN considered that it's vulnerable. This is the map of the cave. So, when you walk in, you'll see a big space around you. In front of you will be a little hole to go through. In the big space you go in first is a room. So it's a room A. You call it room A. It keeps continuing to room E. Now I'm going to pass it on to my team.
ขอบคุณค่ะขอบคุณน้องอากินะคะแล้วขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆต้อนรับน้องลูกพีชน้องชินและน้องแท้ค่ะ
Okay, so the title of our research is The Census of Kitty Hog-Nosed Bat in a Limestone Cave at Sayok District, Kanchanaburi, Thailand through direct observation. As you can see on this slide, Kitty Hog-Nosed Bat is considered as vulnerable species by the IUCN Red List. For the taxonomy, it is in the family of Crassiornitheridae and the species of Crassiornitheridae thonglongyai.
There were 3 objectives to our research. The first was to conduct a complete population census of the Kitty's hog-nosed bat in one limestone cave in Sayok District, Kanchanaburi. Our second objective was to compile a list of the possible factors that could impact the Kitty's hog-nosed bat population. Our third objective is to present our findings to a public audience in Bangkok, and that is to increase the awareness of the situation of Kitty's hog-nosed bats and possibly increase their conservation as well. Okay, so this is our study area. We conducted our research in Kanchanaburi, which is in the west of Bangkok. It's about the west of Thailand. It's about 140 kilometers from Bangkok. So the annual rainfall is about 1,150 millimeters, and the average temperature varies from a low of 25 degrees to 34 degrees Celsius. This is an aerial picture of our study area. It's the Sayok National Park from above.
So during our research, we have 4 methods, which is GPS map investigation, close population survey, in-depth interview, and questionnaires. We start out with investigation with GPS. We investigate the environment around the cave and the cave itself. This is what we found. So the cave is located in the middle of the mountain, and it is surrounded by farms and forest, which means there are food sources for the bats.
These are the results of the in-depth interviews we conducted. We conducted interviews with 2 different groups of people. The first is a group of locals from the village that lives very near to where we conducted our field studies, and the second is a species expert. From our interview with some locals, we found that Kitty's hog-nosed bats are regularly spotted just flying around the village, but their numbers have been decreasing as of late. From our expert interview, we found that not enough people in Bangkok know how or why Kitty's hog-nosed bats should be conserved yet, and also that there are about 20 caves left for the Kitty's bats in Kanchanaburi. What's interesting is that the conclusions for both of these groups is virtually the same. We've been given the recommendation that most effective way to conserve Kitty's hog-nosed bats is to prevent people from entering the caves, and that would allow the bats to continue living and existing in a very natural state. These are some of the factors that we have found are known to impact Kitty's hog-nosed bats. The first is the natural conditions of the caves. Kitty's bats are endemic and are found in a very narrow range of limestone caves in this There's some limestone mountains between the border of West Thailand and Myanmar. What's good about this, though, is that the caves are still remaining in a very natural state. So all the structures and the internal components of the caves are maintained in a very natural state. There's been very little to no destruction from human activity. However, the same cannot be said about the conditions of the surrounding forest. One of the main threats that impact kitties bats is agriculture in the surrounding areas. This is especially pertinent to any of the caves that are actually found outside of the protected national park areas. So as a result of agriculture, sometimes there'll be more infrastructure such as roads built into forest area or to access these agricultural spaces, and from then there might even be more such as buildings established and tourist accommodations, then that we would consider those as a permanent change to the landscape. What's important is that all of these things can create lots of noise and light pollution, and that could force the kitties bats to fly away and live somewhere else. And also, because of agriculture, their foraging patterns can be disrupted, and that way they won't be able to find the food they need to survive.
From the research conducted, it is found that there has been a long use of chemicals such as insecticides and fertilizer, which has a very negative effects on kitty hog-nosed bat food chain. Based on the interview, guano or solid waste from the bat is being collected in the cave and used in agriculture by farmers. This pretty much disturbs the bat in the way that they can be restless when humans enter the cave.
So, we have found some relevant local knowledge from the village where we conducted our interviews. There is local knowledge and experience of the kitties hog-nosed bats, experience of where to find the caves that they roost in. However, because of changing occupations and because the older generation is passing on, it's very, very difficult to preserve this knowledge or pass it on in any kind of way. There's no current activities, like educational activities or campaigns that exist inside of the village to preserve or pass on this knowledge at the moment, even though we found that such activities would really have a positive impact on the conservation of the kitties bats because the locals are living right in that area. Anything they could do has a direct impact on the kitties bats, and they are interacting with the natural resources on a daily basis.
So during our research, we compared the result of our population count from the year 1980, 1996, and 2016, and we found out that the population now is stable. So this is the population result. We found out that there are about 39 to 64 kitty hog-nosed bat in the cave that are spread over 5 rooms in cave. So this is the video evidence of kitty hog-nosed bat in the cave, which tells that the kitty hog-nosed bat is still living in the cave. So this is the table showing the result of population census in the cave. So we found out that there are about 39 to 64 kitty hog-nosed bat and 30 to 31 Malayan horseshoe bats and 3 great roundleaf bats.
From this table, you can also see the method that we employed in our research. As Aki mentioned earlier, we moved from room A to room E in order. In some of the rooms, such as rooms B and C, well, also D and E, we performed repeat countings, and that's why you can see that there's a range of numbers. From each time that we counted, there weren't always the same number of bats inside the room. These are some of the limitations that we found in our research, however. Because the cave that we surveyed is only one cave, it's not possible to extrapolate our data to the entire range of the kitties hog-nosed bats. Also, our research was limited by the time frame that we were able to conduct our research. Future research would need to consider possibly all of the caves in the kitties bats range, and of course the impacts over a longer time span. These are the results of our Bangkok-based questionnaire. We found that while about half of our participants knew that Kitti's hog-nosed bats are the smallest living mammal, not enough of them knew how or why to conserve them. What's interesting is that when we asked the population what are the possible benefits of conserving Kitti's hog-nosed bats, everyone in the blue here said that it would be good for the ecosystem, and everyone in the red said it's good to conserve an endangered species. And so we thought that it would be a really positive response when we continued to ask what they would do if they were involved in plans to visit a cave known to house bats. However, we found the opposite of that. Everyone in the blue quarter here sort of said that they would go somewhere else, while everyone in the remaining space said that they would go anyway or do nothing to stop these plans. And that is the opposite action of what our findings would suggest. So in conclusion, we met our first objective because we performed the population census in the cave. We found that there were up to 64 Kitti's hog-nosed bats living, and that provides evidence that the bats are still continuing to exist in Kanchanaburi. Our second objective was met because we listed the possible factors that impacted Kitti's hog-nosed bats earlier, for example, the natural conditions of the caves. Our third objective is met because we're giving the presentation to a public audience in Bangkok, and in fact, we're doing that right now.
Recommendation for future studies. The first one is to continue interviewing the locals about the Kitty hog-nosed bat that are seen at the village. The second one is to interview locals, park rangers, experts, or other authorities to see the information about the activities that would be held near the cave. The third one is investigate the usage of insecticide near Sayok district. And the last one is pay attention to the cave that contains Kitty hog-nosed bat that is in the Sayok District National Park.
As for the conservation campaign, 3 important recommendations are as follows. First, to educate local communities about the importance of Kitty hog-nosed bat and to motivate them to preserve their knowledge about Kitty hog-nosed bat. Second, in order to prevent further disturbance, it is imperative to make an agreement with local park ranger not to permit people into the cave without good reason. Last but not least, locals should stop or minimize the usage of insecticides so the bat will not be harmed.
That's how we're going to make sure that the Kitti's bats is not going to go extinct. Thank you.